Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Around the World in 80 Plates. Last time I made a video about George Washington's carrot cake and you guys seriously ate it up. I asked you guys for suggestions afterwards of recipes that you would like to see going forward, and I got so many recipes I had to make a list. And now I'm not going to be short of recipes for a very long time. That being said, today we are going to be making a tres leches cake, which comes from Latin America. And traditionally, it's a sponge cake that is soaked in 3 kinds of milk: condensed milk, evaporated milk, and cream, which lends to a very distinctive, creamy, almost caramel-like flavor. So I'm going to go ahead and get my ingredients set up, and I will see you guys in a minute. To make the tres leches cake, you're going to need 1.5 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, half a cup of unsalted butter, 1 cup of white sugar, 5 eggs at room temperature, 2 cups of whole milk, half a teaspoon of vanilla extract, 1 can, 14 ounces of sweetened condensed milk, 1 12-ounce can of evaporated milk, 1.5 cups of heavy whipping cream, an additional cup of white sugar, 1 additional teaspoon of vanilla extract. Now that you have all of your ingredients assembled, go ahead and preheat your oven to 350 and go ahead and grease and flour a 9x13 cake pan. In this step, we're going to sift the baking powder and the flour together, and then we're going to set it aside. Remember, we always want to keep our dry ingredients together and our wet ingredients together. I also like to add any of my additives, my baking powder or my baking soda, to my flour before I sift it. That way I ensure that it's mixed in thoroughly without having to do any extra stirring. Go ahead and cream your butter and your sugar, and when it's nice and fluffy, go ahead and add your eggs and your vanilla. Make sure it's really blended well. At this stage, we're going to add the flour a little bit at a time until it's well incorporated. Add about a third at a time and let the mixture blend well before adding the next third. At this point, you can really start to see the batter starting to come together. It's really looking nice. Also at this point, don't be afraid to stop your mixer and scrape down the bowl. Just really make sure that everything is incorporated well. I can't stress that enough. Here I've stopped the mixer to scrape everything down, and the batter is really starting to take on a very nice silky consistency. This is exactly what you want for a cake of this type. Now we're ready to pour our cake into the pan. Now your pan should look something like this because you have floured it and greased it, and so your cake will not stick. Think of it as a crumb coat layer. Okay, so when you're ready, go ahead and start spreading your cake batter into the pan. Yeah, this looks really nice. Make sure you get out every last bit. Okay. It may be easier to use a spatula to spread the batter in the pan rather than a spoon. Just make sure that whatever you have, everything gets spread nice and evenly in this pan. You don't want lumps or air pockets or anything cooking unevenly. Now the batter is going to be a little sticky. That's fine considering the high egg content. Just make sure to work accordingly. All right, that looks great. So now our batter looks like this in the pan, and it is ready to go into the oven. We're going to bake this for about 30 minutes. Remember what I said before, always set your oven or your timer for 5 minutes prior. You can always put the cake in for longer, but you can't recover a burnt item. I will see you in half hour. All right, so 30 minutes was exactly the right amount of time to keep this cake in the oven. Now you're probably saying, Talia, you told me this cake was made with 3 kinds of milk, tres leches, right? Don't worry, that is coming in step 3. What we're going to do next is we're going to poke holes in this cake with a fork, and then we're going to let it cool for 30 minutes. Just go ahead and poke, I would say about 3/4 of an inch to an inch in between pokes. You can alternate, you can keep it in the same pattern. Doesn't really matter. The point is we kind of want to make sure that the cake is poked full of holes in preparation for step 3. This is also a really good way to gauge if your cake is done, because this fork should be coming out clean every time you poke it. All right, see you in half hour. At this stage, your cake should be completely cool. Now we're going to add all 3 of our milks, our whole milk, our evaporated, and our condensed, and we're going to combine everything until it's thoroughly mixed, and then we're going to pour it over the top of our cake. Really make sure you get that condensed milk mixed up because it's a little bit thicker. You want the consistency to be even throughout. So pour it over the top of your cake. It should be completely submerged. And that's why we poke the holes in the cake, so everything will kind of soak through and combine. If you find that you don't have enough holes in your cake after you've poured the milk on, go ahead and stab some more in there. The more the merrier. So while you're letting your cake soak up all this delicious milk, go ahead and whip up your whipped cream, and we will move on to the next step. Now I've put my cake in the fridge to let it chill while I'm doing this last step. For the whipped cream, we're going to put in the last 1.5 cups of heavy cream, the last of the vanilla, and the last cup of sugar, and we're going to whip it until it's nice and fluffy. Keep whipping. You're about halfway there. At this point, the milk in your cake should be completely absorbed, or nearly so. And here you've got your whipped cream, and we're ready for the very last step, which is to load the top of this delicious looking cake with whipped cream and a little bit of cinnamon. And we're going to make sure that this stays completely refrigerated for the very best taste. Don't be afraid to pile on and smooth out as you work. You want everything to be completely covered. So fun fact, nobody really knows where tres leches came from. A lot of people say Mexico because it's very, very popular there. But no one's entirely sure. It's popular without the entirety of South America, Canary Islands, and interestingly, Turkey, Albania, and Macedonia. Apparently some of the cooking shows from Latin America made their way over to Eastern Europe, where poke cakes are equally popular, and they have enjoyed their own popularity over there as well. Make sure you get this whipped cream on there nice and smooth. Get all the corners. And it looks like we're almost done with the whipped cream. Alrighty. Now I always like to add a little bit of cinnamon to this when I'm done. Make sure you pop this in the fridge for about an hour or so before you enjoy, just to make sure the milk gets really soaked up into that cake and the whipped cream stays chilled. All the flavors should combine nicely at this point when you decide that you're going to have a taste. We've sprinkled on a little bit of cinnamon here just for some added flavor. Now we're going to place this gently in the fridge for about an hour, and then we're going to do a sample taste. Okay, our cake is completely chilled, it's totally done, and it's ready to sample. It looks really good. Excellent combination of flavors. This is fantastic.